one of the comments I got is, I guess I was talking about the filter for that saltwater tank, and someone said, no, don't worry about the filter. All your bacteria is in the sand. Like, it says all the pros know that it's all in the sand. How true is that?
There is bacteria in the sand, but there's also, you have to realize, your detritus also lives in the sand. So if you're vacuuming the sand bed, you're it's like having a filter for a freshwater tank. And some people take that sponge out the filter and rinse it, and now you're starting your bacteria cycle from scratch. Or what I learned to do, and what we kind of learn as we go, is you'll cut that sponge in half. Maybe you take half the sponge out, leave half in there. The same thing in the saltwater tank. If you're relying on your sand bed to be your bacterial management system, then you have to be very careful how you maintain that bacterial bed. I have no sand in the in the nano tank that I'm calling SpongeBob, because I started it with rock, and I wanted to be able to kick all the dirt up and siphon it out. So I didn't put sand in there. But you can do it with sand. But now, like I said, if you vacuum in that sand bed, you could be removing all the bacteria, and now you're starting it all over again. So either you're dosing it with living bacteria in a bottle, but now how do you establish the balance? I find that trickier for a person that's new to the hobby. Rather than just start it, go through, you might get a little diatom bloom, a little red algae bloom, but when it goes away, you'll actually see it going away instead of trying to control it from a bottle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I find too, like the quick start bacteria is okay, but I don't feel like I've ever really cycled a tank with it. Like, uh, I kind of I put it in there to counteract the soil that's really reactive, especially like aqua soil or any of those kind of
Hmm.
plant soil products, because they kick up ammonia. Like there's an
Yes.
instant release of ammonia, and so that bacteria kind of helps keep the plants from being overwhelmed by it. Like the plants will absorb some of the ammonia too, but they'll melt off because they're just like ammonia bath for
Hmm.
the first couple of days. And you can counter that with a lot of water changes too, but that goes against the lazy side. Right? So,
Well, see, I wanted to ask you, I had a question, because I had a question about that. I've started tanks with dirt. I've started tanks
yeah.
with fluorite black,
Uh huh.
which
Yeah.
are seeded or kind of what infused substrates. But there's the $1 million question. I've been told that they do not become depleted, and I've been told that they become depleted. Now, what side of the fence are you on that? Like, do you feel you have to replenish those substrates, or do you feel that they last? Like maybe it's a water change thing.
So, like the fluorite products are clay,
Hmm.
and the way they work is they absorb nutrients, so
Okay.
they self replenish.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like they've got it baked into it so much as they absorb the nutrients, and then the plants kind of tap into them and suck it out, and then they absorb more. I think that they could eventually. There's some people that have said this has come up with like anoxic filtration concepts and
Hmm.
stuff with the cat litter and all that. Well,
Yeah, I've heard
there
about the
some
cat
have
litter.
said that
I'm
it
scared of that.
works. Like I've done it twice, and I'm scared to say it, but it works really well.
You don't
Like
have
I
a
don't want
cat
to
in
look
there.
at it.
You don't have a cat in there, do
Huh?
you? You don't have a cat in there, do you?
Not in it.
You might be
I don't
fertilizing
like
it on the side.
season it that way.
The cat may be fertilizing it on the side. Like, you got a little fertilizer in there, buddy.
Well, like what I do with like fluoride and the cat litter and all those things, sometimes both, is I put them at the base, like the very bottom layer,
Okay.
because they'll kind of live forever down there. Like there'll always be something if the tank is long lived. About 1 out of 5 of my tanks ends up being up for a real long time. So sometimes they'll crash and burn. Sometimes I get bored. Sometimes there'll be other things that happen. You got to make those videos, right? So
Yeah,
you got to
right.
go.
Oh,
It's like, you're looking lame today. Goodbye.
that's a
We're
lot
going to
of
put up another
pressure.
tank. Yeah,
That's
it
a lot
is.
of
It really
pressure.
is. But so I put them at the base. I put that stuff at the base, and then I'll usually on top of it I put soil. So the soil will quickly get all the plants growing and doing good, and then the fluorite and the other stuff at the bottom will kind of sustain it once it's already grown. So those roots kind
Okay.
of go through that soil, they get the good nutrients and stuff, and they go deeper and they get into that other stuff, and that kind of sustains them long term. And
Yeah,
I
because I
did a
put
tank.
dirt there. I put dirt under.
Yeah.
I watched your video where you did that in one, and I did it with the
Uh
dirt
huh.
because I didn't know whether the dirt became inert or the fluorite became inert. And I says, well, I don't know which one, if they complement each other or if, if I'm just dumb luck. Like the plants
Well,
growing
the
is just
dirt
dumb luck.
dirt will eventually go, but it takes a long, long time. It's a very long process for it to all
Hmm.
break down where it's not useful anymore. My trouble with the dirt when I did my dirted tank was that uh, when I'd pull the plants out, it just make a mess,
Poof.
and like I didn't cap it enough. That was my big mistake. And I'm gonna do another dirted tank hopefully soon.
Well,
That means one of you guys got to
well, you want, oh,
go. Looking at these tanks is
they're
like
like,
I got 13 tanks too.
well,
That's
I got
about
a,
three too many. Really.
I got a secret to that I found a while ago by accident. And I was gardening. I was actually gardening. And I don't know how much, when you own a house and you have a lot of potted things. I kept watering plants with potting soil. And when you watered
Uh
it,
huh.
the soil would float over the edge of the pots. And it got me so annoyed. I was like, now I got dirt all over the place. So I
Right.
was I was I was playing with mixes. And I think Rachel Leary, I think she spoke at one of our meetings, and we were talking about dirted tanks, and it came up, and I was like, well, I was thinking about mixing it. And she's like, well, I mix it with peat, and I mix it with this, and I was like, well, I mixed the dirt with sand and peat until it came into a nice even mixture that fell through your hands. Like if you dropped it, it didn't poof, it wasn't light. It made it a little
Right.
sustainable. So I mix it with peat and I mix it with a little bit of sand. And if you add the water, like you put a bowl in your tank, you put a bowl in the tank and add the water, it won't poof up. And once it
Okay.
settles, the sand, like I have it in this tank, I can pull my plants out and it'll collapse on itself. It won't go poof like a cloud, a cloud of dirt that's
Right.
like all your plant now your glass is dirty. So I found that a little bit of sand and a little bit of peat, and peat's pretty light, but the sand kind of prevents that cloud of dirt smoke.
Right.
And then I'll cap it. I'll
Yeah.
cap it with gravel or something or sand. You were telling me about the sand. I'll tell you, Ryan was really scared of putting his sand in the tank. I don't want to divulge too much of his. He's got a really big tank coming, and he's like, "Wow, what if I put this in there?" And there's like a big cloud of dirt comes out. And the capping is the key. Like the sand, you pull a
Yeah.
plant out, and that sand kind of collapses on it. Great, great, great
I,
tips.
I put way too much clay in it too. Like you could put red clay in there, and that one red clay feeds bacteria,
Oh yeah,
and also plants that need a lot of iron.
grow
It helps
towards
them a
it.
lot too. But I put way too, like I put like probably three times the amount I really needed.
Well, do you pound it flat? You flatten it
Yeah,
on the bottom, or you put those
I made
balls
little
in there?
balls, and I put it all the way through that 55. I put all all the way
But
through
now,
there,
if
and
you
I
if you pull those plants out, would they be attached to that clay? I'm curious as to they're going
yes,
to grow towards a clay. So if you pull
it
that out, you're
it
going to
grows
get a whole
into it.
clump of clay.
Yeah, so you get this weird red clump that comes out with every
Yeah.
plant that you pull out of there, and then you try to bury it back in or something, and you can't. It's just
So I was
it's
telling
just
I was telling them to pancake it, like the flatten the
yeah,
clay, pancake it, and then put everything on top of that. So at least the roots will grow down, but they can't wrap
yeah.
around.
Hey folks, thanks for watching this short clip from the Water Change Companion. The full version of this video will be available this Sunday or right now if you're on Patreon. See you then.